Hi there, I'm Andrea Gajic and I'm speaking to you at the virtual Benedetti sessions here in Glasgow, where it's still a lovely sunny day. So, I hope you managed to watch the last video and you managed to stick the pages together, hopefully. You managed to listen to some recordings and you've managed to possibly even listen to other works by Vaughan Williams and Paganini. I hope that you downloaded the scores and looked at how and where your part fits in with the other instruments, because this is all very important for what we're going to be talking about today, which is sound and the way we produce sound, tone production. We're also going to be talking about intonation because it becomes, they're inseparable, sound and intonation. And we're just going to explore some of those passages. The second part of the video will explore some of the passages that we touched on in the Caprice. So, Vaughan Williams' Fantasia. I thought it would be lovely to just tell you a story about this work and its first performance in today's video. So this was performed on the 6th of September in 1910 in Gloucester Cathedral, and you just can imagine how the sound must have been resonating around that huge space. But what's more exciting is the fact that the great Fritz Kreisler was one of the solo violinists in the quartet, along with the only female, Miss Muriel Pickup. She was the second violinist in that quartet and the only female in the whole orchestra. That concert must have been incredible. If I could go in a time machine, I'd certainly want to go back and listen to that. So, the work, the Fantasia is filled with, such a tapestry of colours, and we spoke last time about having this palette of colours at our disposal, sort of like an artist that we're able to sort of, start to use to create landscape and to create the mood and to tell the story. So there's a lovely story that I want to share with you. And if you'd been watching these Perlman videos, you will have seen this, the anecdote or joke, but it's so true. Jascha Heifetz was giving a concert, I think it was in London, and at the end of the concert, one of the young audience members went up to him at the end and said, "Gosh, Mr. Heifetz, your instrument sounds amazing." And he picked it up and he said, "Gosh, that's funny, I can't hear a thing." Sound. Sound is something which is so personal, and every second that you spend on your sound and on developing your sound is an investment in your playing. And the beauty of especially this Fantasia, it's such a wonderful opportunity for you to develop a sound. And I hope that through these tutorials I will be able to share with you some tips that you'll be able to take away and develop and use. So just thinking about sound and, the three, if we think about it as three ingredients. So we have speed, pressure, and contact point. And these three ingredients all need to be added to make up a beautiful sound, but the right quantities. So let's look at that, right quantities. If you play right near the bridge with a fast bow, look what you get. We get ugly soupçon, and if we just let the weight go, the bow will bounce too. So if we slow the bow down, so these are very, very important, and here at a very basic level. And in this Fantasia, there are moments where it's the instrument needs to sound almost maybe like an organ or like a voice, and then other times it's sort of a shimmer of sound, a very sort of mysterious sound, for instance here, or in the opening, where it's a whisper. It's the bow is just sort of gliding over the strings, and you're sort of whispering, just barely stroking the string. So what do we need? So we know about these three ingredients. What else is important? Being free in the right hand, number one. Okay, if there's a lot of tension, especially in the thumb area, it will your sound you will struggle to draw the sound out from the instrument, and it will struggle to resonate. So you need to make sure that this area is very free. And in my warm-up videos, I will be sharing with you some tips on how you can free up your right hand. So please do check them out. So let's just take an open A, and we're just going to explore. So this palette of colors we need. So in this work, we have pastel colors, and then we have much richer colors, and it becomes, we spoke about these long lines that Vaughan Williams creates. There are moments where you sort of feel like you're sort of gliding through the sky. I'm just thinking about Lark Ascending and the glimmers of, moments, seconds that sound almost like it could be from the Lark Ascending, and that idea of sustaining right through the lines, right to the ends of the phrases, and tapering them off. So if we just take open A for one, just feel that freedom. I'm going to gradually add some depth to it, and more depth to it. And let it go. Let the bow float. Just let it float. See if we can do really fast. And now slow. Now deeper. And we're going to take a D, and we're going to just do that deep. And now let it float. And again. Now no vibrato. And just find that D. Gradually a little bit more. Keeping the hand really soft. And then an F sharp. So you're exploring all the rainbow of colors. If you can imagine, this is just one big rainbow. Explore all the rainbow of colors by applying a little bit more weight, slower bow speed, and then gradually releasing that weight and letting the bow glide across the string. It's a great way to obviously open strings is a great place to start, then, so that you're free from any issues with your left hand. Then with the left hand in a scale, then there are some very good etudes, Kaiser number 2, Kreutzer number 1, the infamous Kreutzer number 1, where you're just holding in crescendos. And the longer you can hold and sustain, and then gradually crescendo, and then vibrato, and everything, you know, so the vibrato responds to that color change. But certainly step one is just getting to know how that sound feels, how the bow feels on the strings. And so that's with the open strings. Then gradually, step by step in scales, and just exploring all the colors you can make on all the notes, imagining that you are playing this Fantasia, imagining this story, imagining the hymn, imagining, you know, where you are, you know, the landscape, and applying it there. Then using some of the colors that you've developed in your daily work and applying them in the piece. And so much depends upon, if I'm talking very basically, so much depends upon the speed of the bow and how much bow you use, so the bow distribution. But the most important aspect above all is the sound that you hear in your head. So before you start playing, especially, you know, the opening of this Fantasia, have that sound in your head, hear the sound in your head, and then try to reproduce it. Now, especially in this opening, finding that first note. You want to slide up to it first so that you get to know where it is. Again. And feel comfortable. Take a mental picture of that. Hear it. And play. And then do it without vibrato. See how it sounds? And experiment with how the sound that you hear in your head and the sound that you're producing here, how close can you reproduce? How close a sound can you reproduce to the one you hear in your head? So that's about tone production on a very basic level. We are going to continue, of course, our exploration of tone production. But I have to say, very important, of course, in tone production is intonation. And when the note's in tune, so we take a D. Do you hear the way the acoustics, the overtones just ring? And it creates like an acoustic in a church. So the sound becomes more open and resonates and will ring to the back of the hall. So for instance, just thinking about this, letter D, you can, the lower voice especially, just take that first D and just... And just add then, once you've found the note, then you can add vibrato and the sound will start to open out. And then you've got that sort of palette, you're building that palette of colors to use. Okay, moving on to the caprice. So we spoke last tutorial about the left hand variation 1 and variation 5. We spoke about the rhythm in variation 6. Let's just talk a little bit and touch on the Martelé stroke, which actually we find in the theme and in variation 2. And I think the most important thing with the Martelé stroke is the release. So if you can just put your bow on the string, just rest it there, and then just let it pop. Going to let it release. Now you're going to wobble, wobble, wobble the string. Let it release. Wobble, wobble, wobble the string. release. Wobble, wobble, wobble the string, release. Do the same thing on the D string. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Do you see it's moving from side to side? You're just resting on the string. Now let it pop. And again. Let it pop. And then here, G string. Keep everything relaxed and just let it pop. So if we look at applying that, and if we just take, for instance, variation 2 first, and you're just going to do it all in Martelé just for right now. So you're going to just, without the left hand, just what the right hand's doing. So, and if you shift up to third position, you'll move to the A string and back to the tip. You see the way the gate, your arm is opening and closing. So you want to make sure that you look at where the arm goes from string to string. Drops down for the A string. So if you can practice variation 2, just without the left hand, just with the string crossings, get to know where all the string crossings, and focus solely on this Martelé stroke, this will really help with not only variation 2, your bowing in general, but also in the theme, because here we have a little Martelé. So that needs to be really clear. It will also help with variation 1. Where you can do a little Martelé for the accent. So, I hope that that's been very helpful in today's tutorial. Just to summarize, we have focused our attention on sound, the concept of sound, and I've touched on the importance of hearing the sound in your head before playing it. We also spoke about practicing very slow bows, starting off with open strings so that you feel the sound. You see the way the string sort of sinks in, and you feel that the bow has the ability to sink into the string. We also spoke about various contact points and the way that this is a rainbow, and use of weight, and how that weight, transferring the weight and the contact point and the speed, how they're almost like sort of 3 ingredients that you have to keep adjusting so that you're able to create the color, the mood that you want. We also spoke about the importance of being free in the right hand, and in my next warm-up video I'm going to give you some exercises aimed at releasing any build-up of tension in your hand. And the last thing that we touched on, of course, with sound and the bow articulations with the Martelé and releasing, is of course intonation. Intonation and sound go hand in hand. So when the note's in tune, it creates all these overtones, and also is able to, the sound resonates and rings out right to the back of the hall. So every second that you invest in developing your sound and your intonation is development in your playing. So be patient, be kind, be consistent and persistent, and never doubt yourself. I look forward to seeing you soon.